My name is Jeff Beachum, and my title is Multi-Site Specialist. And this is Kevin Jones, and he's in charge of our marketing and sales department. We enjoy working together, trying to help churches really make their dreams become a reality. I want to tell you, first of all, that you see us behind some of the equipment. You really don't want me touching your technology ever. I am not a technology guy. I leave that to Kevin and especially Don, who is one of our great technical consultants. And I can share later with you at another time privately how we all work together and how we serve churches best. But our goal at Portable Church is to help churches that are finding themselves in a rented facility to have the absolute best experience for children, for adult worship, for adult education, first impressions, and we concern ourselves with everything from the parking lot to the pew. And obviously in the rented facilities there aren't very many pews. But we want to help you and your volunteer team, your assimilation team, get those people who need to hear the gospel in the right frame of mind in the seat, so that you as the senior pastor or for your senior pastor, you can preach the gospel and the gospel will hit their hearts without any interference of what just happened to them in the last half hour getting to that seat. So we are all things portable. So whatever you think it might take for you to turn your current facility, your church, we like to say, we don't want to help you duplicate or identify. We want to help you be identifiable with your previous church. We don't want you to duplicate that because you can't. We talked about Disney World yesterday and how many times you're thinking about how you can duplicate Disney World in a rented facility or even a second facility that might be yours. And the relief is that you don't have to. We just simply have to find your DNA. So we wanted to go through a couple of things. How are churches doing multi-site? Lifeway research tells us that 52% of churches that are doing multi-site are going through rented facilities. And then the remaining part are either through construction or facilities that they've purchased and they can modify in some way, like strip shopping centers. Targets is a great example of that. Awesome facilities that way. Next slide. We're going to rip through some of these slides pretty quickly so we can get to the meat of what we're looking at. Multi-site options. You now have a lot of options for how you're going to land when you're going multi-site. Permanent facility is no longer the default, or it may not even be the best option for you, at least at first or ever. And we want to address that and help you start asking questions about if we do go portable, why would we go portable, and how long would we go portable, and is there really such a thing as being portable forever? And so we want to talk about that. So some of the options are going permanent to permanent to permanent, and I think Josh has a great church that does that. They multi-site permanently every time. Permanent to portable is a typical example where a church in a permanent location goes portable, and then eventually they become permanent in the community that they've been launched into, and then they launch portably, and then that cycle continues on in multiplication. Permanent to portable to portable to portable is another trend that we're beginning to see, where churches embrace portability and do it really well, and finding it's going to be able to help them with their mission and getting into places that they've always wanted to get into a little bit faster. And then there's portable to portable to portable, which some of you are engaged in now. And we're going to talk to Nate here in a few minutes and ask him a few questions. Next slide. These are a lot of things that you need to consider when you're thinking about, do I want to go portable or do I want to go permanent? Do you want to pick off a couple of these?
I think they're all things that you guys have all looked at and seen before. They're things that oftentimes cause much concern when you're thinking about going portable. And so there are answers to all of these, which I think are coming in the next slide. But the thing that we were asked to talk about is can portable be sustainable, be the long-term solution, not just a piece of the solution? And for me, the biggest thing that I keep seeing more and more of are churches, the answer to that question is yes. And we see a lot of churches that are just doing portable campuses purely as their only solution. It's what they want to do. And the reason for that is because they have the ability to, as an example, Meeting House Church up in Canada, one of my clients, we have 13 campuses all meeting portably all across Canada. And they choose movie theaters for all of them with the exception of, I think, one or two now. But it is part of their ethos. And I've had a meeting with them just last year, and I was talking to them about, well, what is your plan for all these campuses? And they're like, oh, we never want to go permanent. We always want to have it so that our church feels enabled and empowered to go out and be out in the community and not have that feeling of, hey, we've got a building, we've arrived, people will come and see now. And they're like, with this model, we're actually able to respond incredibly quickly and launch so many campuses all across the country at a super low cost. And our budget, our money is spent more wisely through this. This money can now be spent in other places. And I said, well, what's the plans for the future? I'm like, do you want to take these into a permanent building? They're like, no, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, we're trying to find out how to do more campuses with less money, and what can that look like? Can we start doing campuses in movie theaters where everything is just done via video? So they're testing out that model right now where everything is done via video and they don't have to buy much technology or anything in doing that. So it's a very, very sustainable and practical way of doing things. It's not the only way, of course, but it is a method that we're seeing happening more and more often.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize that there is no one right way to do multi-site. There are a ton of ways. In fact, I think the innovation factor in multi-siting is only beginning. And we've seen a lot of creativity over the last 15 to 20 years. But there are a lot of ways to do it. And for your church, there is a righter way. If you fail, obviously you will have found the wrong way. But there are righter ways for you to do multi-siting, whether it involves permanent or portable. And frankly, the bottom line for our company, the Portable Church Industries, is not that you go portable or we're able to help you get into those and do those with excellence. We are concerned with that, but our bottom line is that however you do multi-site, if you're reaching people for the kingdom, that's a win for us, even if you don't use Portable Church. So we want you to know that right out of the gate. So some of the benefits of being a portable church. The question we were asked originally is why portable in some instances should be the solution and not a solution until you go permanent. So some of the reasons would involve freedom from debt, and obviously you know that if you have a facility and you purchase the facility, debt is involved sometimes, and you have to test your congregation's tolerance of debt and how that can be measured out, and if debt can be sustained with your situation. Freedom from maintenance and upkeep costs. That there are ongoing costs that you are going to engage in. In fact, we're going to talk to Nate in a few minutes specifically about that and what they're getting ready to experience. So that's an experience cost of being able to put money into purchase and maintenance of a facility. What are you not going to do because you're putting money in there? That's a consideration you have to weigh.
One of the cool things that I've seen also are churches that are moving out of buildings to go portable because they're tired of having all of their board meetings and staff meetings talking about air conditioners and vacuum cleaners. And so they have gone out into a portable environment so that they can have more money going towards missions. And they said it's completely revolutionized all of our conversations. We're now talking about sending people out as opposed to just all the building and maintenance stuff.
Okay, the next. Freedom to utilize church funds on ministry and outreach, kind of what we've been talking about, that you can focus all of your money on reaching that community or in missions. Freedom to be site and venue flexible. Again, I'm going to leave that for Nate because he's talked about some of that flexibility to us, and I want him to share with you what they've done over the years that they've been portable. Freedom to go where God is calling you quickly and effectively. You know that raising the finances, doing a capital campaign can be a lengthy and strenuous process on a congregation. And if God is calling you into a particular community or to a particular ministry to a particular community, being able to do it portably is much quicker and more flexible. So you could go in and test the waters and then say, you know what, we are doing this great, but we can even be better in another venue, and you have the flexibility to move. Once you go permanent, you're permanent, and that's what you have. Freedom for your vision and mission to continue. Freedom to experiment with being venue specific, whether it's the size of the school or a YMCA or the Hall of Fame. One of you are in the Hall of Fame, yeah. And that is an awesome experience that's brought you some uniqueness and probably some renown about the church in the Hall of Fame. That's kind of cool. Freedom to invite and engage. There's a sense in inviting people to familiarity, whether it's a theater, a school, or a YMCA. People naturally are comfortable going into those settings, especially if they are unchurched and they hear all of those things about the church and they're nervous about crossing the threshold of a church that they might not be in a theater that they were just in last night watching hopefully a PG movie. Anything else on that? Okay, we don't need to see that. So I want to bring Nate up. Yeah, we can just close that down now. Nate, pardon? At the end. We can do that. So does this microphone work too? Okay. So Nate has been in Goodyear, actually not Goodyear, Buckeye.
Buckeye. Yeah.
And as a Michigan guy, that kind of rubs me the wrong way. The Buckeyes are not a good team for me. Anyway, oh, yeah. All right, settle down. So Nate has been in Buckeye for
About 9 years.
9 years
Yep.
now. And tell us where you came from in that setting and what you're finding now.
Sure. So in terms of portable, we're in a high school venue right now. We are actually getting ready to build our first permanent location. Part of what we want to do is take that portable church gear. We've learned how to do that very well, pour that into another multi-site location, and looking at how that expands in other ways. So we were chatting earlier about how I came from a church on the west side of Las Vegas out there, and it was a campus that was built out. And the idea is once you're permanent, you're permanent. You know, I mean, it's been such an advantage for us in scaling and growing through the last number of years that if we ever made a change on campus, we had to expand children's areas or we had to shift something around there, it always involved tearing down walls, right? You know, and moving forward, you have to plan strategically. Every summer I was there at that church, we did tenant improvements, knock down, move stuff around. In portable space, you need to scale, you outgrow children's rooms. You don't need to build, you don't need to change. You just tackle a new wing in your school or more classrooms or expand a new space. I mean, we've been able to respond. It's been so flexible. They're even like with the school, we added in portable space, we've gone to another venue. So with our auditorium and worship there, we've gone to a video venue worship cafe that we've been able to execute on campus. And it's very flexible in terms of how you can scale in size and change things. You can change things around 1 month later or in a couple of months, can reconfigure your whole campus in a way you just can't do it in a building. It's been an advantage for us.
So to be absolutely transparent, you've now been blessed, and God is giving you property, and you're really going to go permanent. Tell us about that transition and what you're perceiving some of the challenges would be of moving your people's thinking from having been, because the church has been portable for 16 years.
Right.
And you've been there 9 years.
It's why we've been very, it's why we are in this group and why we're talking multi-site, and we're trying to say, I mean, we have been so much a part of our community and been connected and engaged that way with a permanent campus. It's one of the things we're very sensitive to on a strategic leadership level, is to say we don't want people to circle the wagons, right, and really nest into that space. And so multi-site is a part of that, to say, man, how do we help people know, look, our call is to reach more communities, more people, more places for Christ.
So you had some property before that you didn't pull the trigger on.
Yes, we did a property that when we got to town there, so moved into the high school, bought property, planned to build early on with a denominational lending partner. Then the housing market crashed. You remember back 2008, 9, into those days, Phoenix was one of the epicenters in the country where just complete upheaval. Pricing for houses dropped as much as 2/3 in our area. And that created a lot of chaos. So all that got put on hold, and I'm glad that it did because we outgrew the land that we had, and God really did some great things by us being portable longer than we ever intended. But it was when that happened is when we said, all right, we're going to be portable longer. Obviously, God has closed that door. We're not going to be building and doing that. That's when we invested in Portable Church, researched some different companies, options, chose you guys. The front-end consulting experience was fantastic that first time to help us. You guys brought some things to the table about how we could utilize the high school in ways that we weren't even thinking.
Oh, good, good. Well, that didn't expect that, but that's great.
Yeah.
So another thought that I had was on your volunteers.
Yeah.
You said something back in April when I first met you. You impressed me because of what you said about your volunteers and how you talk to your volunteers. How have you been able to sustain 16 years, but you're 9 years with your volunteers?
Yeah, we have had, in terms of volunteers, long-term in portable space, I would say the right gear, the right equipment, making it as easy as possible for people goes a long way. We have portable churches all over Phoenix. In just about every school in our area has a church. Most of them get stuck between 75 and 150 people. I mean, it just gets stuck there forever because it is such a grinder of a revolving door of people trying to break through in terms of size and space and scale. You know, portable church gear has been one of those things for us that has made it easy to simplify that process. I mean, just the before and after for us, it raised the bar of excellence for what we could do in portable space, and it simplified for our volunteers so that as we've had to continue to expand the ministry, we're now in about 4 Connexes worth of gear that we set up and tear down every weekend. It's sustainable, and we can do it in about an hour, hour and 15. Yeah.
Awesome. So now you're going to be going into a permanent site. What do you perceive you're going to have the kind of conversations you're going to have with your volunteers?
Well, for some of them, no doubt, they've been doing it for a long time. For some of them, they're very excited about the opportunity, right, to be able to have that dialed in, just to be honest.
Yep.
On the flip side of that, though, is I've talked with other pastors and guys. We had another large non-denom in our area that were large in a portable high school venue and went in there, and they talked about how when they moved into a permanent campus, how lost especially a lot of those guys were. I mean, there's great camaraderie. A lot of guys that never would have, like unchurched guys that never would have raised their hand to go volunteer in children's ministry, found a significant contributing role and community on those setup and tear down teams. And so they said that was one of the things, and we've had that. We have people who love to do that and are saying, you know, sometimes people will say, man, aren't your teams burned out? And we have people who say, no, we love doing this. This is, you know, kind of our gig. And that's one of those things that it's a tough challenge when you don't have those lanes for people to onboard for ministry. Like, you know, I remember talking with some friends of mine that did go into a facility. They said we tried to move those guys onto like landscaping teams or onto like traffic parking, you know, attendant teams, and kind of worked, but they said you really lost some of the connection and ministry participation those people had.
Okay. Do you have anything you wanted to ask?
No, not to ask.
Okay. So have I not asked anything that if as your friends are going multi-site and they're considering portability, one thing that you would tell them about that might help them through the anxiety of thinking through being portable?
To help them think through the anxiety of being portable.
Or get past the anxiety.
That you can do portable better than what you're probably picturing in your mind. All right? You know, you probably have seen and heard a lot of bad examples of portable. And don't let that just shape the expectation for what you can do. I mean, and these guys are great partners in that, you know, you can actually execute at a higher level, I think, than a lot of people believe when it comes to portable church.
Good. Well, thank you.
That's one of the cool things too. I'll wrap it up because our time is short. But like, what you're able to do in a portable environment nowadays is phenomenal. That whole identifiable, not identical. I worked with Katie Cole back 13 years ago, and it was such a different experience 13 years ago than it is right now. You can walk into, we've done facilities and buildings for, a lot of the really big churches around here where you walk in and you know what church you're walking into. It doesn't have characters popping out of the wall, but it does have banners that are hung that look exactly like that. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's like from home campus, and I heard some people talking about they had a pool, and that's part of their identity is, it being the epicenter of fun in that environment. It's like, okay, well, fun and children having fun while they're learning about Jesus is important. So we're not able to have a pool in a portable environment, but we can have a whole bunch of bounce houses. And so there's so many different things that can be done that I wish I could show you all the pictures that you would walk in and just be completely astounded at. You wouldn't even know that it's a rented venue, but.
I learned just before lunch that Andy, right, at Trinity, and the guys at Trinity have been portable for 17 years. So if you want to hear any stories about portability, the challenges, the heartaches, the excitement, and the adventures, I would talk to these guys, and I'd talk to the guys at Summit. They've been through it all. You don't need to talk to us until you think you want to go that direction, and we absolutely will help you get the best experience that you can in your setting. In your kits, that when you arrived, you got this card. On the back side of this card it's an evaluation kit. There's an email address or a website. If you go to that website, there are some ebooks available for multi-siting, and it's just another resource, a really good resource from people that have done it for years that we want to put into your hands. And also, my job is to help churches like you to get to the finish line where you actually start again in ministry. So I want to make myself available to you. The company pays me just to come out and talk to you and help you and grab resources from this part of the country that's being successful and bring it over to your part of the country. And so I make myself available to you for that. Okay?